Alright, so, yeah, okay, so this morning I was wondering if I should or shouldn't publish that first video that I filmed. That was the first take of that video that I filmed that I called Robert Pattinson, and it was just kind of all of a sudden that I started talking about the guy in the shelter, and I was talking about that in the sense of like what my experience of dealing with men is like right now, right? I mean, the conglomerate kind of like screwed me and made it worse to an extent, by trying to say that I like change my mind all the time and like what am I saying? But I think first of all, there's been no other type of interaction with this guy at the shelter at all, except him stalking and harassing me from the first second that I got to the shelter when he was working there. I mean, he must have been hired sometime over the past year, because he wasn't there last fall. He wasn't there in 2014 before I left in 2014 to stay at Quincy Mental Health Center for those 4 months at a respite, right? So I never saw him before I got back to the shelter, I think in April of this year. And it was like from the first day that I was there, he was immediately just harassing me, stalking me. It's gone on the entire summer now. It's continuing into the fall, right? And there's been no other type of interaction with him. I have never shown any sign of sexual interest in him, but he is simply abusing his power, right? But I think that's how I'm going to try to have a discussion about this. Although really, again, very tired. Was not planning to have this kind of conversation. I think the conglomerate is very sexist, right? I've said it's very sexist, and it likes to try. And I think it really depends on that very antiquated idea. The conglomerate puts a lot of emphasis on that very antiquated idea that men, heterosexual men, particularly white heterosexual men, have total freedom to do pretty much whatever they want to do sexually, hit on whoever, kind of just sleep with however many people, and it doesn't affect the way people see them in other parts of their lives. In fact, it's kind of like a status thing even. G51, right? And then the idea for women is that if a woman has, what is it, 6'9", yeah. If a woman somehow, in one way or another, gets identified by a power group as being a slut in some way, she doesn't even have the power to say no, right? I mean, if she is public property to anyone and everyone. I think that's a problem that's been part of just the attitude that drives that drives the abuse of women, whether it's harassment or stalking or other types of gender-based abuse. That's the thing, and the thing is too, I could change my mind with everyone in the world, right? With everyone in the world, and I will say this, even steal somebody's husband, steal somebody's boyfriend, just steal them like just like that, right in front of the whole world. Of course, I wouldn't do that. I have no interest in doing that. I think that stuff is really painful. Like, I would not feel good about that, right? And it's not difficult for me to make a decision not to do that. But even if I were to do something like that, this guy would still not have the right to harass and stalk me at the Pine Street Inn. I think that idea of reciprocity is not even discussed, right? It's not discussed in terms of the way that the conglomerate is shaping the conversation about it, if you can even call it a conversation, because basically all it ever is propaganda. It's just propaganda about how men should be able to treat women, how women who agree to be part of that that kind of abusive power structure agree to be treated, and then they also get the freedom within their slave status. They get the freedom to abuse other women, but they don't ever really get to be themselves, be their own people, that kind of thing. But that idea of like something that is reciprocal between people who are equals, that is a non-existent conversation as far as the conglomerate is concerned. And this guy also, it's not just a question of him annoying me, irritating me, or any of that stuff. He has the power.